My name is
Ladies
Lucas.
and gentlemen,
I'm
welcome to the
28,
most
and until
insane
last
mega
month,
ramp in
I thought my
GTA
family
5
dynamic
history.
was just
I'm
a little
talking
off.
sky-high stunts,
Now I realize it
zero
was a powder
gravity
keg
jumps,
waiting to
and
blow.
crashes
It
so
started at
wild.
one of our
Buckle
usual
up
Friday
because this
dinners.
ride's gonna be
My older brother
absolute
Ryan
chaos.
was grinning like he'd won the lottery. And in a way, he had. Mom and Dad had just given him a down payment for his first condo. "You've earned it, son," Dad said proudly, as though Ryan had personally built the place instead of just signing papers. I sat quietly, feeling that familiar knot in my stomach. I've worked since I was 17, paid for my own degree, even helped Mom and Dad with their mortgage when things got rough. But that night, it felt like none of it mattered. Dinner was almost over when Dad looked right at me and said, "You're not half the man your brother is." Something snapped. Maybe it was years of being compared. Maybe I was just tired of swallowing my anger. I pushed my chair back and said, calm as ever, "Then he can start paying your rent." The room went dead silent. "Rent?" Mom whispered. "What rent?" My heart pounded, but I just stared at them. I just cracked open a secret I never intended to share. Dad spoke first, voice hard. "Lucas, what exactly do you mean?" "For the last 3 years, I've been covering part of the mortgage, your mortgage." Ryan frowned. "Wait, what? Why?" Mom looked offended. "We never asked you to." I almost laughed because technically she was right. They hadn't asked, they begged. 3 years ago, Dad lost a major client. I got a panic call asking if I could cover the payment so they wouldn't lose the house. I didn't hesitate, only it didn't stop at 1 month. Before I knew it, I was sending them money every month. They always promised to pay me back someday. Someday never came. "Whatever help you gave was appreciated," Dad said, "but throwing it in our faces now is uncalled for. I'm pointing out that I've been keeping this house afloat while Ryan gets rewarded for what, exactly?" Ryan bristled. "I work for my condo. I've been killing myself at my job." "Yeah, your job at Dad's company where you get promoted every 6 months for showing up." "Enough!" Dad barked, slamming the table. "You will not disrespect your brother." Disrespect. That word always got thrown at me. "I'm asking why my support is invisible while Ryan is the golden child." Mom's face softened. "Lucas, you've always been so sensitive. You know we love you just as much. But Ryan has been working towards something big." That was the moment I realized this wasn't about money. No matter what I did, it would never measure up because mine was quiet. I excused myself early and left. Driving home, I kept replaying Dad's words. "You're not half the man your brother is." Over the next few weeks, things got worse. They set Ryan at the head of the table. Dad spent every meal talking about Ryan's promotion. Then came the final straw. Dad called me over one Saturday. When I arrived, he and Ryan were in the living room looking serious. "What's going on?" I asked. "Your brother has a great opportunity," Dad said. "He's looking at expanding his condo into a 2-bedroom to rent out. We thought maybe you could help with the down payment." I actually laughed. "You want me to fund his second property when I don't even own one myself?" Dad's expression hardened. "This is about family. You're single, you have no kids, you make good money. It's time to step up again." Something in me snapped. I've been stepping up for 3 years. I've been sacrificing my own goals so you don't lose this house. And now, you want me to bankroll Ryan's real estate ventures? No one said anything. "I think we're done here," I said, walking out. That night, staring at my bank statements, I saw all the money I'd sent them over the years, all the savings I could have had. For the first time, I wondered if I was done helping them entirely. 3 days later, Mom called asking me to come to dinner. "It's important." Against my better judgment, I agreed. When I arrived, Ryan was already there with that smug smile. Dinner was quiet until Dad cleared his throat. "Lucas, we've been thinking about what you said. You've been very generous these past years." I sat up straighter, cautiously optimistic. "We need to think about the future," Dad continued. "We've decided to add Ryan to the deed." It took me a second to process. "Add Ryan to the deed?" "Yes," Dad said matter-of-factly. "He's going to inherit the house anyway. This way he can start taking responsibility for it now. I felt like the wind had been knocked out of me. I've been helping you pay for this house for 3 years, and your solution is to make Ryan a co-owner? Ryan is the one who's going to keep the family legacy alive, Dad said. You've made it clear you want your own place. This is what makes sense. You didn't even ask me. We didn't need to. You said yourself you were just helping. Help isn't ownership. That word stung worse than I expected. I had sacrificed everything so they could keep this house, and now they were cutting me out as if I'd never contributed at all. I turned to Ryan. You knew about this? He nodded. Dad told me last week. I didn't think it was a big deal. Not a big deal? Ryan, this house wouldn't still be here if I hadn't been covering payments. You wouldn't have anything to inherit if it weren't for me. Ryan shrugged. Look, you chose to do that. Nobody forced you. If it bothers you, maybe you should stop paying. The casual way he said it made my blood boil. I stood. Fine. Consider this my last payment. If Ryan is on the deed, he can keep this place afloat. Mom looked panicked. Lucas, you can't just pull out now. We're still paying off the loan. That's not my problem anymore. You wanted Ryan to be the man of the house? Congratulations. He can have it. I turned to leave, but Dad's voice stopped me. If you walk out that door, don't expect to come back when things go south. I froze. He wasn't just taking my contributions for granted. He was threatening me. I turned back slowly. Things already went south, Dad. You just didn't notice until now. I walked out, slamming the door behind me. That night, I pulled out all my bank records and receipts. Every transfer I'd made was documented. Thousands of dollars. I stared at the numbers and felt a strange calm settle over me. They thought I was going to slink away quietly. They thought they could rewrite history, but they were wrong. This was no longer about fairness. It was about making sure they could never ignore my contributions again. Over the next few weeks, I went low contact. I canceled the automatic transfer to their account and redirected the money into my own savings. For the first time in years, I started thinking about what I actually wanted. Mom sent long emotional messages. Dad's got shorter and angrier, accusing me of abandoning them. Then I got a letter from Dad, formal and cold. Since I had chosen to withdraw financial support, they were considering other options, and I shouldn't expect to be included in discussions going forward. It wasn't just about money anymore. They were cutting me out completely. But strangely, part of me felt free. I started going on long walks, looking at apartments I used to dream about. I started looking at condos for sale. Why not me? Why shouldn't I have a place of my own? I built a spreadsheet with all my expenses and savings. Now that I wasn't sending them money, I could save faster. A few weeks later, I got a text from Mrs. Jensen, our old neighbor. She sent me a photo of a congratulations banner on my parents' porch with a message. So excited for Ryan. Heard the house is officially in his name now. They'd gone through with it. They'd put Ryan on the deed and no one had told me. That night, I stared at my stack of bank statements and receipts. My entire contribution right there in black and white. And that's when a different kind of plan started to form. I wasn't going to yell or fight. I was going to let the truth speak for itself. Over the next few months, I threw myself into work. I volunteered for extra projects, stayed late, and within 2 months, I got a raise. I picked up freelance financial consulting on weekends. Within 3 months, I had regular work that nearly doubled my income. Then a startup client offered me a full-time position as their financial analyst, 40% higher salary plus equity. I said yes. With my new income, my savings grew fast. Within 6 months, I was signing papers for my first condo, a sleek 1-bedroom downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows. When I got the keys, I just stood there soaking it in. This was mine, completely. Of course my family found out. Ryan saw a photo I posted. His text came minutes later. Wow, nice place. I ignored him. Mom called, left a voicemail. Why didn't you tell us? Your father feels very hurt. I deleted it. Over the next weeks, I settled into my new life. Work was challenging, but exciting. Every night I came home and felt that quiet satisfaction. But the bitterness didn't go away. I knew my family was telling everyone that Ryan had saved the family home. My contributions were invisible, erased. One night I sat with that stack of receipts, every payment, every dollar I'd sacrificed, and that's when the idea fully formed. If they wanted to pretend I had done nothing, I was going to make it impossible for anyone to believe that. Then fate handed me the perfect setup. My cousin Sarah called. "Your parents are throwing a family appreciation dinner next month. From the invite, it sounds like they're planning to make a big deal about how Ryan has been taking care of the family legacy." I felt my stomach tighten. "You're kidding." They even asked me to make a slideshow of photos of the house. A public dinner with everyone there to celebrate Ryan for doing what I'd been doing quietly for years. It was infuriating and perfect. I spent an entire weekend compiling everything into a professional financial report. Charts, graphs, annotations. At the end, I added a summary. Total contributions to family home, 2019-2023, $68,450. Through Sarah, I got the slideshow file. I scrolled through, simple photos, family captions. The last slide said, "Thank you, Ryan, for preserving our family home." I stared at that slide for a long time, then I made my own version. Same photos, but at the end, I added my financial report in clean, easy-to-read format. On the last slide, I put the total in massive font with one line beneath. "This is who kept the house alive." The night of the dinner arrived. I dressed carefully and walked into the event hall.
What is this
Ryan
shit?
spotted me and raised an eyebrow. Mom hugged me tightly. "I'm so glad you came. Wouldn't miss it." After dinner, Dad stood up. "Thank you all for coming. This house has been the cornerstone of our family, and we wanted to recognize the person who has worked so hard to preserve it." The slideshow began. Cozy photos through the years. Ryan helping Dad fix a fence, Christmas mornings. Then the final slide. "Thank you, Ryan, for preserving our family home." The room applauded. Dad put his hand on Ryan's shoulder proudly. I let the clapping die down before I stood. If I could have a moment. The room quieted. Dad looked confused. "Lucas, this isn't really the time. It'll just take a minute. Since we're talking about preserving the house, I thought it might be good to share something important." Before anyone could stop me, I walked to the projector, plugged in my flash drive, and clicked. My slide appeared. Financial contributions to the family home 2019-2023. Murmurs started around the room. Click. The first year appeared, a neat list of monthly transfers with dates and amounts, each labeled mortgage support. 3 years ago, I said, voice steady. Mom and Dad called saying they were in danger of losing the house. I sent money to cover that month's payment, and then the next month, and the next. For 3 years, I contributed to keep this place standing. Click. Another year appeared. The numbers grew larger. I never told anyone because I thought we were all in this together. But when I found out Ryan was added to the deed without a conversation, I realized history was about to be rewritten, and I wasn't going to let that happen. Click. The third year appeared, ending with the bold total, $68,450. Complete silence. "This," I said, pointing at the screen, "is what really preserved the house." I clicked to the last slide, a photo of the house with the caption, "This was my contribution, don't forget it." The silence stretched until Sarah let out a low whistle. "Wow, I had no idea." Other relatives started murmuring, some turning toward my parents with raised eyebrows. Mom looked pale. Dad's jaw was tight. Ryan looked uncomfortable. "Lucas," Mom finally said, voice shaky. "This was not the place. Actually, this is exactly the place. You wanted everyone here to celebrate Ryan's part in saving the house. I just thought they deserved to know the whole story." Dad stood, face red. "You're trying to humiliate us." I shook my head. "No, I'm telling the truth. If the truth is humiliating, that's not on me." My aunt cleared her throat. "Well, I think we can all agree Lucas deserves some recognition." A few people nodded. I unplugged my flash drive and said, "That's all I wanted to say. Please enjoy your evening." I sat back down while the room buzzed with whispers. The entire energy shifted. Conversations were hushed and pointed. Mom barely touched her plate. Dad didn't speak. I stayed until dessert, then quietly headed out. Walking to my car, I felt lighter than I had in months. I hadn't yelled, I hadn't begged. I had simply laid out the truth and let everyone see it. And judging by the looks on my parents' faces, the truth had landed harder than any argument ever could. The fallout started immediately. The next morning, my phone buzzed with texts from Mom. Long paragraphs swinging between guilt, anger, and self-pity. Dad called and left a voicemail. "You've embarrassed this family. People are calling, asking questions." Sarah called me laughing. "You have no idea what a stir you caused. Half the relatives are furious at your parents. The other half are calling you the unsung hero." I checked social media. Under photos from the event, comments debated what happened. Props to Lucas. If I had given that much, I'd want people to know too. I didn't know Lucas was helping with the mortgage. That's incredible. Not one person criticized me. For the next week, there was radio silence from my parents. Then, Friday evening, I got a knock on my door. Dad was standing there looking older than I'd ever seen him. Mom was behind him. "Lucas," Dad said, voice low, "can we come in?" I stepped aside. Dad spoke first. "I owe you an apology. I didn't realize how much resentment had built up. You did more than anyone, and I minimized it. That was wrong." Mom nodded. "We should have talked to you before adding Ryan to the deed." "It's not about the house," I said. "It's about respect. I was there for you, and you acted like it never happened. You made me feel invisible." Dad looked down. "You're right. We were wrong." Mom stepped closer. "We want to add you to the deed, too." I shook my head. "I don't want it. I have my own place now, my own life. That house was my responsibility for a long time, but it's not anymore. I'm done tying myself to something that only brought me grief." Mom's eyes filled with tears. "I'm not saying this to hurt you," I said gently. "I'm saying it because I'm finally free, and I want to keep it that way." Long silence. Dad finally nodded. "If that's what you want." When they left, Mom hugged me and whispered, "I'm proud of you." For the first time in years, I actually believed her. When the door closed, I stood there staring out at the city skyline. I hadn't just exposed the truth. I had forced them to see me, really see me for the first time. And now I wasn't living in the shadow of my family's approval. I was standing on my own, completely and unapologetically. I sat on my balcony with a drink, letting the quiet wash over me. Not the heavy silence of being ignored, but the peaceful kind that comes after a storm. The house wasn't my burden anymore. It was theirs, and I smiled.